Cool.
So strange.
Thanks, Shane. Should I just start? Just go to it? No, wait a little bit.
Go to the middle.
Yeah.
I'd say start, except there's people who just opened the door and are trickling in. So if you can take your seats as promptly, then we can go ahead and get started. I'll just go ahead and introduce you. It's my pleasure to introduce Jennifer, who flew in from New York just to give us a little talk about emojis. So Jennifer, why don't you go and take it away?
Yeah, thanks, Shane. All right, so my name's Jennifer Daniel, and I just want to take a moment to thank Shane and all the conference organizers who have put on a great day when not stressing out about today's presentation. I've been able to actually enjoy the talks and meet a lot of you, and I'm really looking forward to having tiny burgers with you in 40 minutes when I am done talking on stage. So my hope is by the end of today's talk, you will understand why there are 4 mailbox emoji on your keyboards, but no chef's kiss. Okay. So one doesn't really grow up dreaming and wishing to become the chairperson of a standards body, but maybe they should, right? Because honestly, I mean, not here to hype y'all, but Unicode is amazing. And it's only capable due to the tenacious volunteers that are here today and many who are not here today. And I feel very fortunate to be part of that group. So if you attended Marcus's chat today about properties and algorithms, you learned a little bit about all the different subcommittees that make up the UTC. Emoji is just one of them. It just happens to be the most colorful one. And it's a very small slice, but I'm here to talk about what the ESC is responsible for, which includes, yes, the technical implementation of encodings. Yes, we drive the strategy and guidelines for new emoji. And we really try to improve the interoperability of those emojis so that you can send that smiley face to someone without fear that it's going to look like an ogre on the other end. And we are always working to improve the process. So if you are interested in submitting a proposal, it can be the best it can be. So the ESC has been very busy since 2010, where we had initially 700 emoji. With the latest update in 2023, yes, I realize this chart is slightly outdated. We have 3,782 emoji. Yes, we have that many emoji. I will not be offended if you take out your phone and verify by looking at your keyboards. They're all there. So 2019. Okay, let's look at the chart. What happens 2019? That green line goes a different direction. It goes down. It so happens that in 2019 is when I became the chairperson for the ESC. So possibly a coincidence, but we've learned a lot on the ESC about how people use emoji, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what we've learned and how people use emoji, which is really my favorite part of the job. A little bit about just like how we talk and how we write. Like a lot of folks came up to me, not a lot, okay, 3. And they're like, what's the name of your talk exactly? And I'm like, writing and talking are different things. And the way we write is, it's a conscious process. You can look backwards and forwards and do things with language that you're much less likely to do than when you're speaking. And when we're speaking in an unmonitored way and not reading from speaker notes, we usually speak in word packets from 7 to 10 words. And that's what speech is like. It's looser, it's telegraphic, it's less reflective. Texting is more like speech, right? It's like fingered writing. It's like fingered talking, right? So really texting is like fingered speech, I suppose you could say. We text the way we write, the way we talk. The other thing, that we text the way we talk. Now, emoji are not just, they exist in a vacuum, right? They're commonly used alongside text. They provide a range of functions. Sometimes it's punctuation, sometimes for nuance, sometimes for play. So I ask you, a lot of people use emoji. Wait, does anyone here not use emoji? All right, okay, so we got good coverage. And no one raised their hand. So ask yourself to kind of look inward here and ask yourself, how do you use emoji, right? Have you used emoji like this? You are amazing. And you use it as punctuation. You are amazing, party popper, right? Do you use it to indicate volume, possibly repeating the same emoji to say, no, you're not just amazing, you're really amazing. Do you use it like William Shatner to emphasize the cadence and emphasis of your message? You are amazing, with different beats of your emoji between words. Do you use emoji with great exuberance, mixing and matching them all while they're all somewhat all saying the same thing? In combination, they say something completely new. Do you use emoji when sexting, right? I mean, many of these aren't translatable out loud. They are simply unpronounceable, and that is awesome. You know, as I work on ways to improve how we communicate online, I'm stumbling upon this cultural divide where people cannot conceive of inventing a language never intended to be said out loud. You are amazing. Emoji allow us to play with written communication and defy formal conventions. While we normally don't think of emoji as a place for creativity, like art and music, individuals and communities of the world just inject meaning into seemingly meaninglessness, just as an artist or a musician. Take, for example, elephant shoe. Why would I send this to someone? Well, it's a cute story, so brace yourself. Friend Damien sends this to his wife, Kim, because when you mouth the word elephant shoe, it looks like you're saying, I love you. I know, it's so cute. I want to die. I love it so much. This won't mean anything to anyone else but Kim. And now all of you, you can now steal it and take credit for it. It is extremely cute, very specific, intimate, and adorable, and I love it. My friend Ryan sends me the second place medal when he has a parenting blunder, like his kid fell off the slide. Silver medal. Good job, Ryan. Or cactus. I use this when I'm in a real bad mood. You know, if I send you a cactus and my status, my status message is a cactus, it's a warning. You don't want to come near me. I'm not really not that bad. I just feel like a cactus. Anyways, my friend Julia, I love this one when she texts me, person cartwheeling into a black hole. She's having a nervous breakdown. I immediately call her, right? Okay, so emoji is slang. It's jargon. It's pet names. They are private. They are personal. They are creations that we find in everyday items, but not in the dictionary, right? And I love seeing what citizens of the internet are doing to leverage Unicode, rather than exclusively relying on Unicode to add a new emoji every time they want to express themselves. So as much as I love all of those really cute examples like elephant shoe or cartwheeling into a black hole, when you actually look at how people use emoji next to each other, they're pretty basic, right? It's like hard eyes, kissy face heart, hard eyes heart. We all kind of want to express our love and affection through emoji that are pretty similarly in meaning, but they provide emphasis and nuance. So as a friendly reminder, if it has a code point, you can adopt it. Unicode's Adopt Character program goes to support digitizing the world's languages with the added benefit of securing your inside joke in a very public hall of fame, and it is a tax write-off. Such adopted characters include Disappointed Face, adopted by the CPO of Slack. Poultry Bone, adopted by Buffalo Wild Wings. Jason Jenkins, who adopted this guy, but his identity remains unknown. It's true. Melty Face, adopted by our very own Mark Davis and Anne Gundelfinger. Red Lobster, adopted by Red Lobster. It's true. I don't know who Scott Spears is, but he already beat you to it, so I'm sorry. You should take a photo and adopt a character in the next 40 minutes. You won't regret it. Oh yeah, and Sundar did adopt the hamburger. If you don't know the story behind the hamburger, anyone at Google could fill you in later. It is a long story. Okay, so we're going to talk about how language is dynamic, it's personal, it's fluid, and how Unicode's criteria for inclusion keep this in mind, right? So, you know, I mean, I don't have to tell you guys, but like, it took millennia for written languages to evolve from purely tracking the inventory of cattle to pay the taxes to like fully fleshed out poetry, right? So it's really remarkable that emoji have been able to operate at the speed of communication online, which is quite fast. One of the reasons emoji are still relevant is because of the ESC's criteria for inclusion. So we're going to talk about that for a little bit. And the first criteria is frequency of use. Ideally, this criteria is something that you can demonstrate that your concept already exists in the world, in literature, in comics, and manga, cartoons, movies. The more pervasive the expression is, or the gesture, or the emblem, the more empirical evidence should exist to point to its frequency of use. So we're going to do a little quiz. If you know the answer because you are on the ESC, you do not get to participate. Do not spoil my fun, please. We're going to play again. These are the 8 emoji categories that exist today. And we're going to ask ourselves, what is the most popular emoji in the object section? Oh, look at that. They all disappeared. They're all gone. It's hard to play this game if you don't see what all the object emoji are. Okay, so fortunately, they're all on your keyboards, or you can just guess. You can just close your eyes and imagine an object. It's probably an emoji. Anyone want to guess? I'll take a couple guesses before we move on. And who do you think is the most popular object emoji? Love it. Glass of wine. Anyone else? Car. House. Laugh with tears. Not an object, but I feel you on crying and laughing. Okay. Heart. Also a good one. So it's hard when you don't actually have the emoji in front of you, but the most popular object emoji is actually crown, which, by the way, you can adopt in the Adopt a Character program by taking a photo of that little character right there. When you look at the most popular emoji per category, there's something that they have in common. They all have multiple meanings, right? So crown, people aren't talking about the Queen of England. Well, maybe they are, but they're also just talking about how you're the best. You're the queen. You are amazing, right? When people are talking about fire, they're not talking about California wildfires, although they're also doing that. They're saying you look hot, you're spicy, and they send you a lot of fire when it's that situation, right? So like all of these reflect emoji that are able to be flexible and used in lots of different ways. And anyone who tells you that the folded hands is not a high five, it has to be prayer hands, has no idea what they're talking about, because an emoji can be whatever you need it to be. So use it as a high five if you see fit. To understand how people use emoji is to really understand these criteria for inclusion. And by the way, all of these are publicly available on the Unicode website. And the subcommittee really does their best job to be as faithful to these guidelines, because once an emoji is added to the Unicode standard, it's never removed. So let's move on to multiple uses. So what does that mean? Well, we want to add emoji that has notable metaphorical references and symbolism. It's like a pig face. Okay, it's super cute. Look at that little piggy. I love that little piggy, right? Like I saw a pig today. Here's a pig face. Sure. It's also a zodiac sign, right? Pig is also delicious. Like maybe you don't want to eat pig, but you are as hungry as a pig, right? Or maybe you want to use it metaphorically, right? So pig isn't literally just representing itself, which, by the way, is also available on the Adopt a Character site. You too could have a pig for a lot of money. Okay, it is a tax write-off. Other multiple uses. It's not just animals that can be used in multiple ways. We have gestures, right? So hand with index finger with thumb crossed. It's a long name. Hand with index finger and thumb cross is an excellent example of how we're prioritizing emoji that are globally relevant without having to mean the same thing to everybody. For example, this gesture is very popular in Korea. It's known as finger heart. And it's due to the overlapping finger and the fingertips. Kind of looks like a little heart. It's super cute. Another really cute example here. So like you would say to say you're truly amazing, or just like, it's just a common gesture, right? For folks who are not familiar with finger heart, they look at that and they're just like, oh, it's obviously the world's tiniest violin. What are you talking about, finger heart? I've never heard of finger heart, but I've heard of the world's tiniest violin. Others associate it with money. Like it's super fancy, so you rub your fingers. Or snapping. We don't have a snap. Well, we don't have a snap, but now we do. So it's one gesture, many different meanings. It has multiple meanings so that you, based on the context that it's in, can absorb it and provide a little bit more nuance. All right, the third criteria for inclusion is use in sequences. What does that mean? Meaning, can this emoji be used with other emoji? Let me take a step back here for a second. So like emoji are building blocks, right? They're like, oh, emoji is a language. Yeah, like, it's not so much a language, right? Like it's more like, what do we want to talk about? Like emoji works alongside language, right? If emoji was a language, I bet we would have had a lot more hands raised that don't use emoji, because learning a new language is hard. It's really hard. But emoji, because you can use it with your native language, it works alongside language. It is more like, yeah, I'm sure there's a word for it. I'm sure someone here could tell me what that word is, but it's not a language unto itself. It is building blocks so that you can communicate. And they aren't a substitute for language as much as they supplement it. So here's a great example of a new emoji that came out. We got palm down emoji and palm up emoji. On their own, you might look at it and be like, why would I use, what is this palm down emoji? But now you got your mic drop. You got you throwing a hot potato. You have this ability to use this emoji in a way that is gestural, that is fun, that is playful, and I don't know, like I mean, mic drop emoji. You know, we don't have to add a mic drop emoji because finally you can do it yourself. As we live through the meme era, you know, emoji are no exception. Emoji memes like this one, like it is what it is. Or the very popular shy guy, he's like another, like, you know, it's when you take a little pleading face and you put pointing right and pointing left and he's doing this kind of, so like these are great examples of how emoji can operate as building blocks and as less as super specific concepts. And because of that, they are versatile, they are fluid, and they become more useful. The screen is, oh, okay, so forgive the recording. I saw this on the plane last night and I had to record it and it's so perfect. Hold on. See if I can play it.
Details don't stop there. Federal prosecutors say Senator Menendez lifted a block on U.S. military aid to Egypt, texting his wife, "Tell Will I am going to sign off this sale to Egypt today. 10,000 rounds tank ammunition."
Oh, that sounds fine. Just some normal couple stuff there. Texting about thousands of rounds of tank ammunition. According to the indictment, that text eventually got forwarded to Egyptian officials, one of whom replied simply with a thumbs up emoji. Oh, you're confirming the receipt of tank ammunition with a thumbs up? Have some panache. Where's the dollar handshake or the money bag, bomb, champagne, shh, the flying money and the truck? Making the other guy go, "What's the truck for?" Only to get the response, "They don't have tanks, that was the biggest truck." Okay, got it, cool. And then and only then is the thumbs up emoji appropriate.
Yes, John Oliver gets it. I love that this shows all the creative ways you can use emoji and also the lack of a tank, so they use a truck, you know, all of it. He captures it all. It's perfect. So that's all I have to say about John Oliver. Okay, so this also seems like a good time to mention that thumbs up, handshake, money back, nor truck have been adopted in the Adopt a Character program, and they can be yours. All right, the fourth criteria for inclusion is breaking new ground. This basically means that you need to demonstrate that this character represents a collection, a group, a family, instead of a very specific breed or species, right? Like a beer mug, it's not a very specific type of beer. It's more the idea of beer in general, right? Like it's not a Guinness, it's not an IPA, it's just beer, right? And we don't need to encode all the different varieties of beers. When T-Rex was added, dinosaur enthusiasts legit rose up and spoke out for pterodactyl representation, right? So when you add one emoji, you do it at the cost of excluding other emoji, no matter if it's a different type of beer or a different type of dinosaur. All right, we're going to move on to the next criteria, which is distinctiveness. This is one I think is like underrated in terms of people, like on people's radars for what makes a good emoji. By distinctiveness, I mean like, can you actually tell what it is? Right, like here are some actual emoji submissions. I won't torture you guys by making you guess what they are. I will tell you, we got a coffee bean, a pile of powder or sand, bowls of powder, another bowl of something, and a splat. Okay. One of these did become an emoji, which we'll talk about later. All right, so in general, though, when you look at these, it's really hard to tell what's going on. What is it? If people don't know what it is, it lowers their confidence. They won't share it. It then just sits in your keyboard and rots, right? So one of the reasons distinctiveness is so important is that it means people actually use it. We want to add emoji to your keyboards that you will use. And the design of emoji is something that we are paying a lot more attention to on the ESC. We do surround ourselves with experts. For anatomical heart, we talked to a cardiovascular surgeon who critiqued our heart, wondering, where did this come from? I've never heard of this before. I mean, he's like a legit surgeon, so he's coming at it like he can actually perform surgery on the heart. But, you know, we really just want to make sure it's as authentic as possible. You know, and there's an expert on everything, whether it be, you know, the parachuting community. Real, like I will have still not parachuted, but I feel like I could now. Probably unwise, but you know, what's wonderful about emoji is everyone really is enthusiastic about it, and I get to meet a lot of different folks from a lot of different parts of the world and a lot of different expertise. And while there are many discussions about the accuracy of emojis, sometimes it's okay to deviate from reality. Like worms don't have eyes. But as an emoji, isn't it so much cuter? By the way, you can adopt this character on the Unicode website, and I love him. Okay, the last criteria for inclusion is compatibility. And by compatibility, do we really need it so that you can actually use it with other phones, other devices? I mean, like it exists on one platform, but it doesn't exist on the other platforms. And so really, that's why Unicode exists in the first place. So we have it last year for the criteria for inclusion, mostly because most of the ones needed for compatibility have already been added, but it's still a criteria and one that we pay attention to. So this is a fairly recent example. This was, I want the exact name, face with hand over mouth emoji. As you can see here, these are many designs from many different font designers. They all have one thing in common except for one. Can you spot it? That's right, the one on the far, let's see, your far left, it has open eyes. One major platform had designed this emoji so it had open eyes. Everyone else had closed eyes, which doesn't seem like a major problem. It's like, whatever, it's just a smiley face. But it actually is a problem because when people are messaging on social media about things that they're reacting to, and they're just like shocked, hand over face, eyes open. I can't believe this is happening. But everyone else in the world thinks they're laughing at it because they see an emoji with closed eyes. That is a problem, right? And that should not happen when there's an entire subcommittee dedicated to preventing it, right? So the ESC took a look at this, and you know, we were like, no one wants to be misunderstood. What can we do? So we came together to write a proposal for adding a face with open eyes and hand over mouth, so that we could add an additional character and reconcile the design for this particular code point so they could all have closed eyes. And doing so would require us to actually prove that both of them were valid, right? We weren't just like solving one problem by creating another problem. And when you actually look at how people express themselves, you can see there are very distinct differences between an open eye face with a mouth, with your covering your mouth with a hand, versus a face with closed eyes. We got laughing Ryan Gosling, we got Snoopy, versus we got other folks in the top row who are shocked. They are shooked. They are very different sentiments. So with the addition of face with open eyes and hand over mouth, note the addition of the title, face with open eyes and hand over mouth, it was very easy for us to then distinguish between these two emoji, and now on your keyboard you have both, and you don't have to be scared of people thinking that you're laughing when really you're surprised. Okay, we're going to talk about criteria for exclusion now. We've talked a little bit about how language is dynamic and personal and fluid, and I feel like the criteria for exclusion it's going to be spicy. It's going to be spicy. Okay, so while there are a number of deal makers, there's also deal breakers, right? So does the emoji represent something that is already representable? So overly specific is the first criteria for exclusion. As we are starting to get closer and closer to 4,000 emoji, this is a very tall order for proposals to really demonstrate. Is your proposal overly specific? Let's talk about what that means. Okay, so we have a dog. Here's dog emoji. What should his name be? I'm going to call him Goose because that's the name of my dog. Looks nothing like this dog, but it's my dog. So I am projecting onto this dog. Now, my dog is a husky. I'm sure some of you have all types of different dogs. There's lots of different dog breeds. We got balloon dogs. We got all kinds of dogs. But at the end of the day, we have one dog emoji to represent all of them. So proposers are encouraged to justify why their emoji is not just one of many and has a special reason to favor it over other types in that world. Okay, the second criteria for exclusion is open-ended. It's similar to overly specific, but it's more focused on the lens of, is this emoji just one of many with no special reason? Well, it's very similar. I might just get to it. Okay, so salute. Salute emoji. This was the initial drawing for salute emoji. It really came a big debate, right? Because it turns out there's lots of different ways to salute in the world, right? You got You got this guy, you got this guy, you got this guy, and there's so many more, right? And when you are an organization that's really trying to encode concepts for the world, choosing one salute over another seems to undermine that sort of stated goal. So as a subcommittee, we could not advance with salute emoji, no matter how strong the proposal was, because the design inherently would make it overly specific. So we looked at it. We were like, okay, what if we just went with your Western classic hand over the brow, right? We also were like, well, we could, why exclude all the, the other ones? And so did a number of different designs. This hand moved all over the face. Can't even tell you. In the end, we ended up with a design more similar to none of them, right? So this doesn't look anything like this, and there's a reason. We basically took the idea of a salute without it being specifically one military organization. So it's the idea of it without it being like, I don't know, like your sergeant would disapprove of it, right? Like this isn't supposed to be formal. This is like, I respect my troops. Thank you for your service. It is the idea. It's also like, I can send this to my boss when he tells me to make him some deck, right? I'm just like, got it, boss, I got it, right? Like it doesn't have to be so formal, but it can be used to say and acknowledge, yes, affirmative, both sarcastically and sincerity. So basically my strategy is to upset everybody. Basically, it's like, none of you get what you want. I'm going to do it this way instead. Okay, faulty comparison. This brings me to the third criteria for exclusion, which is when people come to us and they go, but you have 3 calendar emojis. Surely you can add neck massager emoji. And you're like, no, it's hard to explain, but not that hard to explain. So a lot of emoji exist in our keyboards for legacy reasons. These existed possibly as dingbats on old Japanese phones, or maybe it was a wing ding or a dingbat. And we have lots of different characters that look really similar, like snowman with snow and snowman without snow. How many clocks do we have? So many clocks. I mean, honestly, I think we should be using the clocks more. We should give it a chance. But we have a lot of clocks. And it's very upsetting when they, oh man, there's supposed to be like 27 train emojis on this slide. I'm not sure why they're disappearing, but many of these emoji were added for compatibility in the original days of emoji. And their existence does not justify proposals to be like, well, if you have this, surely you can add this other emoji. I'm really scared that, okay, good. For example, the addition of, like the emoji new, just a box with the word new in it, doesn't justify the existence of a proposal for adding a box with the word old on it, right? Like it's not relevant. The emoji for tiger face and tiger do not justify the additional front versus body views of all the other animals. These are all legacy emoji. We got all those mailboxes. Shocker, none of these have been adopted by the Adopt a Character program. They could be yours. All right, next criteria is transient. This effectively means, does this proposal demonstrate this particular concept has been around for a long time? So as an example, we got smile with tear, right? And this is referenced as far back as Homer's Odyssey, when Odysseus returns home and he is smiling and crying. We see it in a religious scripture. It's even, you see people smiling and crying in The Office. So it's as relevant today as it was in the history. And it's not, in fact, a meme. It is not transient, and it is now emoji. Like, love little colon, comma, paren, smile with tear emoji. Love it. It's been around for a long time. So if you're writing a proposal, think less about emojifying a meme, and I encourage you to be playful with the existing set, right? So this is a meme emoji. You don't need literally to encode the whole concept. And to really think back on the historical nature of it. Has it been around for a long time? I'm not talking about 30 years. I'm talking about 3,000. All right, already representable. Basically, can we already represent this concept with existing emoji? We got a lot of hand washing tweets back in the days of COVID. People really are like, we need a hand washing emoji, even though you could really just combine water and soap and hands to convey the concept of this. And COVID is just one of many examples, right? We have a squirrel emoji, or we have a chipmunk emoji that can also be a squirrel. It can be both, because, I mean, unless you're a squirrel expert, I mean, really, what's the difference, right? Okay. Vaccination is representable with sequences. We don't need we do not need an arm with a Band-Aid on it. When we have a Band-Aid and an arm and a heart, like 12 hearts. Actually, we have more than 12. We have 12 colors. We have like 20 different other hearts. But what I love about what I saw through the invention of creativity using emoji during COVID times is how people were using them, such as this, like Corona. This is a sequence of emoji that became popular with Spanish speakers. And I love that. So it's less like when people are coming to us demanding, and truly the word is demanding, representation for concepts that are of the moment. You know, it's less about do we need an emoji for social distancing as much as we really need to understand how you feel about social distancing, right? Like COVID-19 is still a thing in 2023 and you're chill with that, right? COVID-19 is still a thing in 2023 and you're really upset about it? Is it COVID-19 is still a thing and you're self-medicating about it? I mean, COVID is still a thing and I feel nothing about it, right? So you're able to communicate how you feel about an event that everyone in the world is experiencing without the need to add an emoji to commemorate that event, which sadly is still relevant today, hopefully is not relevant forever. When there are as many foods as there are ingredients on the planet and a variety of objects only limited by our imagination, every addition to the emoji palette is really at the risk of creating zones of exclusion without consciously trying. So the best we can do is ensure that emoji are broad, are flexible and fluid as possible, just like language and just like us. So our primary goal in the ESC is to reconcile the rapid transient nature of communication with the formal methodical process of a standards body like Unicode. And we do this by focusing on globally relevant communicative concepts. And this does require prioritizing inclusion and representation in a different way than you might expect. Rather than focusing on how we look, we lean into how we feel as human beings. And so here's two fairly recent examples of dotted line face and hugging. Dotted line face connotes invisibility. It is an introvert. It is someone who wants to disappear. It is how you feel, not how you look. Same for hug. Multi-person emoji are really tricky due to gender and representation and skin tone. So we were able to reconcile a design that was super ambiguous. I mean, there's not even lips on this guy. There's no nose. It's just the idea of a hug. In hugs, there's like so many hugs. There's bear hugs. There's like intimate hugs. There's like quick chest hugs. There's all kinds of hugs. This is just the idea of a hug. And the reason why it can be the idea and not a specific one is because we've removed as much detail as possible. How do I do it on time?
About 5 minutes left, 5 or 6.
How about 30? 30? Okay, cool. Okay, we'll do 5. We'll try to do 5. All right, so I could skip 15.1 and go right to 16.0, I suppose. Ooh, what should we do? Yeah, I know. We don't want to do that. I mean, okay, so is this the right slide? Yes, I'm telling you right now, I am losing it. I need that mini burger so bad that's out there. Okay, so the latest emoji update that will be landing on your phones will be emoji 15.1. The data files were released in September, and this means it's going to take some time. Don't expect it on your phones till like Q1 2024. What's unique about the 15.1 update is that we couldn't add any new code points to create new emoji. They had to be used combining existing code points. These types of sequences, if you're not familiar, they're called swidges. That's when a combination of multiple emoji display as one single emoji. So to create this engineer emoji, you combine woman emoji plus skin tone plus factory to create it. And with the emoji in 15.1, to get broken chain, you have chain and collision. To get lime, you get it's generated through lemon and green. Swatch, which arguably could be just an unripe lemon, possibly, but it's clearly a lime here. Or brown mushroom, right? We got mushroom plus brown swatch. Finally, an edible mushroom, because the other one would kill you. Man, I really want to talk about 16.0. I was going to talk a little bit about what was significant about 15.1. I'll do it really quickly. So multi-person emoji are a nightmare. They're just a nightmare. They're inconsistently rendered. I don't understand why some have skin tone, others don't. I don't understand why some have multiple skin tones and other ones just have one. I'm going to talk a little bit about multi-person characters. So when I talk about multi-person emoji, multi-person emoji are ones like this. We got family, wrestlers, all the folks that are in love. Now, multi-person, multi-toned emoji are amongst the least used people emoji, which is saying a lot because this particular category is quite popular. If you look in the bottom right corner, this is where you'll find them. Oh, right here, collecting dust in your keyboards. But there's a problem. And this, by the way, this is a frequency chart that we published on the Unicode website. If you're interested in exploring Unicode data, it's available there. Thanks to Alexander Robertson, who's a volunteer, and we couldn't have made it without him. It's fantastic. Okay, so I digress, right? The encoding of multi-person, multi-tone support has matured over the years. We've added skin tones, we've added gender, but the implementation does seem fairly random. Here's a blank screen again. With the exception of 3 person-based emoji, all people emoji have toned options, and they're all missing. Whatever that is, you could adopt in the adopted character. I don't know what it is. Oh no, they're all blank. Look at that. Okay, cool. It's coming back. Okay, we're missing quite a bit. Okay, we'll talk about the family. Oh, that's kind of a bummer. All right, so there are a number of family emoji which can be grouped into 4 categories. But none of them have skin tone, right? Yeah, we have like single mothers, single dads. We got families with 1 kid, families with 2 kids. But like, you know, this doesn't really represent all types of families. What even is a family, right? For some people, the family is the people you were raised with. For others, they've embraced their friends and family as their chosen family. Some families have children, some families don't. Some people have fur babies. Like there's multi-generational families, multiracial families. And so there's no reason to define families this way when you can put single emoji next to each other to convey the concept of your family. The ESC did sincerely look at adding all skin-toned options for all of those family emoji. It would add over 7,000 characters to your keyboard, which is a doubling of what we have already for emoji we actually use. Never mind emoji we don't use. So we skipped adding all of those variants, and in emoji 15.1, we are redesigning all the family emoji to look more like symbols. That lowers the expectation around the representation of them to look exactly like my family. And icons really do a lot of heavy lifting. This is truly the idea of a group of people. You can decide if it's a family or not. You can decide the ages, the genders, the look. It is ageless, it is sexless, it is toneless. It is a group of people. Given that I'm out of time and I'm the only person getting in the way of cheese and drinks, I think I'm going to cut right to just previewing 16.0. So last week, UTC met for the last meeting of the year. These emoji are in the far, far future. Takes a long time to encode emoji, but you can look forward to seeing face with bags under eyes, fingerprint, root vegetable, leafless tree, harp, shovel, and yes, splatter. Splatter is back. I love splatter, and I will happily talk to you later about why I think splatter is amazing. Each one of these emoji represent each one of the major categories in emoji. I think we'll just end there. So here's a little preview of what you have yet to come. It won't be on your phones till 2025, so you'll have to settle for Pink Heart and all the other characters that just landed this past spring, which are right here. All right, thank you so very much. It was really nice to talk to all of you. I wish I had more time to talk to you on emoji. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, there's no time for questions, but guess what? Jennifer's going to be at the Mix and Mingle, which is right outside. Let's go enjoy some of those sliders and cauliflower wings and other things.
Yes.